Good morning. This is Mrs. Martin, the Library Media Specialist, and I'm excited to be doing your first book talk of the school year. It sure would be fun if I were in your classroom right now, but we'll hope that doing this as a video is the next best thing. Anytime that I give a book talk, I try to set things up in the same way so that it's very familiar, especially by the time we've had a couple of book talks. And that is so that we have, books being shared in a variety of ways, different types of books, so that hopefully, even though some of the books may not be books that sound good to you, there may be others that do. And so today, Mr. Haakenson asked that I share some books that would be in the nonfiction category. My understanding is that you have been studying some nonfiction and have been doing some things with biographies, I believe. And so today we're going to look at some nonfiction titles that are great books here in our library. And I'm also going to share just some helpful hints about using the library since you're new to Valley Middle School, and hopefully giving you some ideas about how to get something great to read. I want to encourage you right from the beginning here to please feel free to stop down to the library at any time. If you have questions, if there's something that you're not sure about and need some help with, I want you to feel free to come down and see myself or Mrs. Kump down here in the library, and to know that we are here to help you and to answer the questions that you might have. So let's go ahead and get started. I want to talk a little bit about what this slide looks like before we go any further, because each slide is going to look similar in some ways. The slide is going to have the title of the book that I'm sharing. In this case, the title is called Chomp, a book about sharks. It's also going to have the name of the author, and this author's name is Melvin Berger. It's going to have the book cover on it, and you can see this book has a great cover with the shark and his huge teeth. And then it'll have a couple of pictures or sometimes a quote. Sometimes I'll have a video that will go along with the book, but something that will get you thinking a little bit more about the book that I'm sharing. And then in the top right-hand corner, I will try to give a little bit more information about where you could find the book in the library. And so with our nonfiction books are always listed by what we call a call number, and that's a number and lettering system, and that's always useful information if we were to go and look for it on the shelf ourselves. Now this year, at least to start this year, we aren't having students go over to the shelf and pick up the book themselves. We're having Mrs. Kump do that part for us. But I'm still including that information so that at some point you'd be able to walk over to the shelf and get that on your own. Well, let's go ahead and talk about this great book, Chomp, a book about sharks by Melvin Berger. This is a nice short read with fantastic pictures filled with fascinating facts about sharks. It has these beautiful full-color pictures of sharks swimming and hunting. And if you have ever wanted to know some interesting facts about sharks, this would be a great book to pick up. One of the things I learned in reading this book is that sharks swim even while they are sleeping. I had no idea that that was true. I assumed that sharks probably sat at the bottom of the ocean when they were asleep, and that is not the case. They swim even when they are sleeping. And so that was an interesting fact that I learned. I learned that some sharks have more than 1,000 teeth in reading this book, which just seems like a crazy number to me. I could not believe that that was true. And there are so many facts packed into this very short read. So if you would like to know some things about sharks, if you feel like you already know everything there is to know about sharks, I can almost guarantee you would learn something new about this fascinating animal. Pick up this book or request it on the Destiny Discover catalog, which we'll talk a bit more about at the end. Chomp is the name of that book. What a great name. Math Curse by John Seiska. And I just realized I spelled his first name incorrectly there. I'm so sorry about that. This book might be one you can relate to if math sometimes makes your head spin. I know it does for me. This main character of this nonfiction book is sometimes thinking about how math creates problems all the time. Sometimes you wake up and you think, okay, I have 30 minutes until my bus leaves, but I have 10 things I need to do. Or, why can't I just keep 10 cookies without someone taking 3 away, right? Like in a math problem. Oftentimes, the math problems that we're given in math assignments just cause problems. And we might think to ourselves, why are these problems even problems at all? This is one girl's story of a math curse and how it could be broken. It's full of some math problems. It's full of humor. This author likes to write things that are funny. And this is a book about how math sometimes can seem like a curse or a problem, but it doesn't always have to be. Kind of fun. Since you have been focusing on biographies, I thought I would pull out one that is in our Time for Kids biographies. This is about Jackie Robinson, and it's titled Jackie Robinson, Strong Inside and Out. It's by Denise Lewis Patrick. And this is about Jackie, who was the first African American to play baseball in the modern major leagues. Now today, that may not seem like such a big deal to see an African American man playing baseball, but in 1947, this was a huge deal. Until Jackie stepped up to the plate to play baseball, African Americans couldn't play on most professional sports teams. But because of Jackie having the courage and the perseverance or the strength to push forward and say, this is important. It's important that I get to play because I'm talented and because of who I am as a person and not because of the color of my skin. I should get to play, as should anyone else with my talent. No matter what I look like, no matter what anyone looks like, we should all get to play. Because of that, now anyone can participate in America's favorite pastime. So Jackie Robinson really made history at this time. He's known for that. And I really love the quote that I have here on this slide where Jackie said, "I'm not concerned with your liking or disliking me. All I ask is that you respect me as a human being." I think that's, of course, what we want anyone to do. It's an important thing. So if you'd like to know more about his story, about how he made this important change in history, how he stood up for what he believed in, and did something that paved the way for so many people after himself, pick up this book, Jackie Robinson, Strong Inside and Out. It is his biography. And another story that falls under that biography type of category, I'd say, maybe more of a memoir, because it focuses on a smaller part of this young girl's life. This story is called Her Own 2 Feet, A Rwandan Girl's Brave Fight to Walk. And this is by 2 authors. It's by Meredith Davis, as well as Rebecca Uwatanzi. And I'm going to let the book trailer, the video here, tell you about this fabulous story about this young girl and her brave fight to walk.
Rebecca was born with twisted feet and hands. Walking became so painful that she had to crawl or be carried. But a journey to America would change that forever.
I come from Rwanda, a country which is in the middle of Africa. When I was born, my legs and my arms were twisted, and I was not looking like other children. They looked at me and said, "Who is this?" And they say, why are you not like us? And I said, no, don't say that, because for me, I don't know, even me, I was born like this, I don't know why. They used to laugh at me and saying, no, we cannot play with you.
And then Rebecca found out she was going to a hospital in America to have surgery.
I can stay with the Davis' family because they were nice to me. I saw Dr. Dana. He was a nice guy, and he told me that, don't fear. I know you are going to walk well. And I said that, okay, because I want to walk like others, they do a surgery. After the surgery, I was feeling like good because I was walking on my feet. I was like, oh wow, this is so good because it was not hurting anymore. And I was saying, wow, I thank God because now I can walk like others. Before my surgery, I was different from them. But now, if you see me and you see the others, we have no different. Now, I go on my own feet. Look for my book, How on 2 Feet, at your Scholastic Book Fair.
So Rebecca's story is a really great one to pick up and read and get a chance to, through her eyes and her words, get an opportunity to find out what it was like to have that surgery and experience things the way that she did. So that's another book that may be one you'd like to pick up. I wanted to also point out that there are, of course, so many books down here in the library, print copies, paper books that you could check out, but also we have books available on your iPad that you can be reading as ebooks. And so I'm going to take a moment to show you again that Mac and Via app that I hope is already downloaded to your iPad. And I'm going to share, just as an example, that something kids have been interested in right now because of the fact that it is October. People are in the mood for spooky, eerie kinds of stories, and extreme ghost stories might be a fun book for you to take a look at in that Mac and Via app. Another way that you can access the Mac and Via app is by going through our Library Media Center homepage. So I'm going to take a moment just to show you how I found this book. You can go to the library homepage by going to the Valley Middle School page first. And the way I got here is I went to Valley Middle School, I went to Academics, and then I clicked on Library Media Center. So the books that I've already shared, you could find by going through our Destiny Discover Library catalog. You could search up any of those titles. You could log in using your student ID number and your collab password, and then you could place any of those books on hold or any other book that looked good to you. And I hope that you and Mr. Haakenson would call me into your classroom if you had any questions about how to do that. That's what I'm here for, and I'd be happy to come in and show you. I also want to take a moment right now just to show you how I used the Mac and Via app. And again, you could go through the homepage to do this if you didn't have your iPad or if you didn't want to use the app. You could go through it here. To use Mac and Via to get to ebooks, you'll want to be sure that you're logged in under Valley Middle School. And when you do your login, it's the same as going through the catalog. So for students, you use your student ID number. For staff members, we're going to use our first and last name. For our password, it is your collab password. So again, for students, that's your last name and the day of your birth date. There are lots of ways to search for books to read on Mac and Via. The way that I found that extreme ghost stories is I went to categories. I scrolled past some of these great categories that you could also click on and take a look at. And I went down to supernatural because I was looking for something kind of spooky. Once I was at supernatural, I kept going down And I kept loading to see all of the choices here. Oh, maybe that's not how I found it. Maybe Mrs. Martin's memory is not quite so solid. Here, that's how I thought I found it. Well, anyway, I guess if that's not how I found it, I guess today what I'm going to do is I'm going to just type in extreme ghost stories. Nope, and that didn't work either. Isn't that fun? Well, who knows how I found that book? Isn't that funny? Where did I find that one? Well, your best laid plans sometimes just don't work out. At any rate, I guess what I could do instead is, since I'm not finding that one at the moment, I could still look in that supernatural category and find something still sort of spooky to read, look at the other options for some of those ghost stories. Another one I guess I would recommend, just taking a look here. Oh, there's so many good ones. One of my favorites here is One for Sorrow by Mary Downing Hahn. She's a wonderful ghost story writer, and so any of her books would be terrific. I do see that this one happens to be checked out. It's got that little red dot on it. So I would have to request it instead of checking it out right now, and then I'd wait to get a message on my email saying that the book is ready for me to read on my iPad. Well, that's what I get, I guess, for waiting a couple of days. I am going to have to look into what happened to that Extreme Ghost Stories book. I'm not sure where that went. A few other tips for you about using our resources here. I would highly recommend stopping down to the library if you have questions about anything, contacting me or Mrs. Kump on Schoology, because we are here to help you. And certainly asking your friends for recommendations. If somebody's reading a great book, asking them, what's the name of that book? Could I get a copy of it? Could you tell me the author so that I could also write it down? Keeping track of the book titles that you want to request later if a book is checked out. Finding a way to keep track of a list is an excellent way, especially if you're in the middle of reading something right now, but you know that you want to come back to a book later. The other thing I want to mention is to please wait for the Schoology message before stopping down to the library. When you put a book on hold, it is going to come up with an immediate hold is available message, but all that means is that the book is on the shelf here in the library. We are asking students to wait until they get a message from Mrs. Kump on Schoology that says the book is ready for you. If you have any questions about that, as I've said a couple of times, please let us know. But otherwise, we are so excited to get some books to you and help you find something terrific to read. In the meantime, happy reading.